Inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music. You're listening to TW3 Radio.
Sometimes it's hard to get yourself to do the things that you need to do. Why would you delay things that are important that will help you to reach your goals? And you wonder why that is.
You have this huge goal, yet you cannot seem to push through the mental block, that you have something that you want to do full time, but you can't seem to beat procrastination. This is something that we see over and over and over again. And it's this idea that you don't ever start. You stay trapped in your head.
We are what we repeatedly do.
There are mental habits that are bad, there are emotional habits that are bad, there are physical habits that are bad.
The worst habit, and you're gonna hate me for saying this, the first hour of the day is touching your phone. It's the worst thing you can do because you have that addiction to it. And I'll tell you the reason why you don't want to do it. When you wake up, talking about brainwave states, we're talking about superhero states, your brain cycles through different brainwaves. Beta is when you're most awake. You're in beta, most of you right now. Delta is when you're asleep. In between theta and beta, when you're most awake, is a state called alpha. All right? It's a state you go in when you meditate. States you go into when you do deep breathing.
Your character is formed by habits. And habits are formed by discipline or the lack of discipline. You have good habits because you discipline yourself. We have bad habits because we don't discipline ourselves. So that discipline becomes habits, and those habits become our character.
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. I've viewed myself as, slightly above average in talent. And where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
Most people who procrastinate they're in a state of procrastination. That's the feeling, right? Or they have a poor strategy for executing things, getting things done. One of the best ways of changing your state is by moving your body, right? Because as your body moves, your brain grooves.
The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part.
If you want to get off the cycle of bad habits and average choices that you've been living in, go out of your way to take a small step forward, then another and another.
I learned very young that you don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. There will not be one brick on the face of the earth that's going to be laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay in this next 10 minutes. Yeah. And you do that every single day.
And soon you have a wall.
And soon you have a wall.
Yeah.
And I think psychologically, the advantage that gives me over a lot of people that I have been in competition with in different situations is it's difficult to take the first step when you look how big the task is. The task is never huge to me. It's always one brick.
How do you force yourself to do it? You can wake up in the morning and say, today I'm committing to making small progress on this thing I'm curious about.
I believe there's a success formula, and it takes two parts. It takes first showing up. 50% of success is just showing up. I think in life, you want to show up for your health, show up for your relationships, show up for your career, show up for your service. But just showing up, is that just going to get the job done? No, you have to play full out.
Why you're doing the things that you're doing. Why do you have the bad habits that you have? Like when you find yourself at the same point over and over and saying, oh, this is like Groundhog Day. Why is it that I just keep landing in the same spot over and over? Well, you have to look at it and say, what are the things leading up to that? What are the decisions I'm making? What are the habits I'm doing? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And pretty soon you can start to recognize your own patterns. When you can recognize your own patterns, that's when you can create change.
You will feel resistance. You will struggle. You will start to feel like it needs to be perfect. You're going to come up with excuses. You're going to talk yourself out of it. Why? Well, because you're used to thinking, and now you're asking yourself to do. Why am I explaining what you should expect? The reason why I'm explaining what you should expect is because it's normal to feel those things. It's normal to feel scared. It's normal to feel like you don't want to do it. It's normal to think about doing it perfect. Letting those things stop you is a choice.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be.
The only solution is micro action. That's it. I don't want to hear shit about your big goals. In fact, for everybody out there, I don't want to hear shit about your dreams and your goals until you're actually taking the actions every day for a couple weeks straight. You don't get to talk about your dreams until you can prove that you wake up and every single damn day you push yourself to take one small action forward. If you can do that consistently for a month, then you can start talking about your dreams. Then you can start talking about how you make money at it. Then you can start talking about how you build skill around it. But until you can...
Inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music. You're listening to TW3 Radio.
How could a man hit a target he could not see? That's a pretty good question. Here's another one. How can you hit a target you do not have? Besides, planes are built for flying. Ships are built for sailing. Houses are built for living. And man, too, was built for purpose. He was designed for accomplishment. He's engineered for success. He's endowed with the seeds of greatness. And the greatest danger we as human beings have is when we do not do anything at all. People today complain of lack of time. It's not lack of time that's the problem, it's the lack of direction. Are you a wandering generality, or are you a meaningful specific? Are you going to work tomorrow because that's what you did yesterday? If that's the reason you're going tomorrow, you won't be as good tomorrow as you were yesterday because you're 2 days older and no closer to the goal you do not have. What about you personally? Have you got your goals laid out? Are you a meaningful specific, or are you a wandering generality?
See, you are part of an equation, and you are needed. Part of why we should begin to look at how we give up our lives, that we've got to begin to see, what is it that I'm supposed to do? What is my life work? And then give ourselves to that. Because as we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you, as you begin to take on this new era that we're in, if you decide that I'm going to begin to start living life, I'm going to start giving more of myself, I'm going to start putting out more, contributing more to life. Here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I guarantee you that life will take on a whole new meaning for you. I guarantee you that life takes on a whole new dimension, that you'll be happier, you have a greater sense of happiness and fulfillment in life, that now you will begin to take off on some new paths to some newer horizons, that you'll begin to see life totally different than most people.
You got to have those long-range goals. And the rule is a simple one. You go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll always be able to see further. Are you a wandering generality, or are you a meaningful specific?
And most of us go through life because we're not using that which we've been given, that we are punished, that we're going through life getting up in the morning with no reason to get up. There's a scripture, when I heard it, I couldn't understand it. I say, how cold? He that hath shall get, and he that hath not, even that he has shall be taken away. He that hath a generous view of life he that has courage, he that hath initiative, he that hath resourcefulness.
I say it with all of my heart. I know in my mind that man was designed for accomplishment, that he's engineered for success, that he is endowed with the seeds of greatness.
You're listening to TW3 Radio, inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
Why is it that people don't want to grow? Why is it that they just settle for being less than what they are capable of being? Why is it they shy away from doing their stuff and challenging themselves and taking life on and making it an exciting adventure? Why is it? Because living your dream, it's hard, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard living your dream. We are in charge of our attitudes. And when you're in charge of your attitude, you say, if it's hard, then do it hard. I won't allow this to stop me. I don't have the option of easy. I don't have the option, and I don't think you do, or any of us do, of going around trying to find a dream that's a little dream that doesn't require much responsibility or not too stressful or won't be too much of a hassle. No, no, no. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. An optimist sees an opportunity in every calamity. A pessimist sees a calamity in every opportunity. What can make it okay? Your attitude about it. That you decide that this is not going to determine who I am. Charles Swindoll said about attitude, he said, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact attitude has on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures and successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play the one string we have, and that is our attitude.
If there's anything in life that you don't currently have right now, it's because of who you are and how you think. I know you're strong enough to do it because you're human. And every human has what it takes to get past whatever they're going through if they decide to. Push through it. Push through it. Tragedy and trials come to everybody. Only the strong survive. Y'all running from pain. Y'all running from challenges. You telling me how difficult your life is. Do you understand it is the difficulty that's going to prepare you and take you to that next level? I'm here just like you here, and I promise you, I ain't leaving without the degree. I will not leave without that goal. I will not leave without that dream. I will not leave this university until I'm successful. I will not leave this job. I will not leave this client. I will not leave this opportunity until I get it.
You're listening to TW3 Radio, inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
Look what you did there, and you can't do that. And who are you, Terry? Who are you to go and talk to hundreds of people about business? You're a failure. You went bankrupt. Well, let me tell you something. I figured out a way not to do business. And you need to know this. And Les tells a story about where he was playing Connect Four. I don't know if y'all know Connect Four, but it's this little checkers game that you play. And he's playing with his son, and he's playing. He played for hours with his son. And he says, son, I'm ready to go to bed. I'm tired. He says, Dad, one more game. And he says, son, I'm bored. I'm tired. He goes, listen, it's not over until I win. And finally his son won, and they could quit playing. And he says, Les says, how many of us would find so much more success if we'd have the attitude of that little child? It ain't over until I win. This ain't over until I win. I'm still going to play this game. I'm still going to be involved. I'm still going to be engaged so I get my breakthrough.
to TerryWilson3.com, home of TW3, the most powerful marketing tools, training, and technology on planet Earth. Get ready to earn, enjoy, and experience more than you ever dreamed was possible. If you're tired of just getting by and ready to really thrive, then buckle in and listen up. Here's your host, Terry Wilson.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to TerryWilson3.com. This is episode 437. Tonight we're talking about having a deeper impact through speaking. Now, you don't have to be a public speaker or even in business to understand that the words you speak have enormous impact. Show me any relationship where in business, family, or society that either thrives or dies, and I can show you a direct correlation to the communication between the various parties. So tonight we want to talk about how we can all improve, how we can speak to each other in both our personal and professional lives to have greater impact. But before I get into that, my sons, in whom I am well pleased.
You guys are bad at baseball.
Yeah. You had to go there first. You just had to go there first.
I saw it last night.
I'm trying my best to stay positive, to stay upbeat.
Well, don't worry. I can do the opposite of that. What is that, 3-1? You guys had a 3-1 lead? You still didn't?
You have to put it.
What happened?
You have to put in context.
You guys are bad?
No.
You guys are cursed?
No.
Yeah.
We had a great year. We shouldn't even have been there. And I'll tell you why. Number one,
because you suck.
$61 million payroll versus $106 million payroll.
Sounds like excuses.
Number two, our entire pitching staff that was gutted because of injury and everything else.
Wait a minute.
Two of our aces didn't even get to play this year.
What
Soroka.
you're telling me is there's context to the titles that people win.
There is context to every win and loss. It's just not.
Never heard that. That's weird.
It's not an excuse. It's just the reality. I mean, we shouldn't even have been there.
So you're saying you guys aren't failures and losers?
I'm saying we punched way above our own weight. And the fact that we were one game away and one run away from going to the World Series with a team that is the oldest person on the team was, what, 27 years old?
Sounds like excuses to me. When LeBron was 23 and he brought a terrible Cavaliers
you always
team
bring back
and lost to a dynasty
you always
Spurs
bring
at
in
23.
Somehow you try to work in this whole.
LeBron's not as good as Michael. He lost to the Spurs. It's like, what did you see the dumpster fire?
Who cares?
Oh, so context goes out the window when it's not appropriate. Gotcha. Well, tonight we're going to be taking your questions in segment 2, and we'll be answering them. So go ahead and feel free to type your questions in the comment section. We will.
Read it.
Sorry.
Read it.
No, you're fine. It was just typed weird. We will. Or our members.
We're
going to be taking your questions after segment 3. A lot of our members likes to answer it for us. The only thing we ask is that you keep it clean, positive, and relevant.
And if not,
it's got to be funny.
Yeah. If you're going to go risque, make it funny. How did you like Bill yesterday?
He was good.
Hey,
he did a good job.
Bill did a good job. For TW3 family members that have gone to the conference and stuff, Bill spoke at our church yesterday and did a good job. I don't think he's probably not going to have more than 20 complaints.
That's not bad.
That ain't bad.
There's only 40 people there, so I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Go ahead, River.
Tonight we're offering a free book to someone who shares our podcast with the hashtag TW3podcast437. Share this podcast now on your social media channels, and we'll be picking someone out later in the show to give a free book away.
Now, what if they share it on MySpace?
We'll be looking for that as well.
No, we won't. Don't lie to them. It is hashtag TW3podcast437.
Hashtag. And why is it important to put the hashtag? Because a lot of people keep asking, why do we have to put this stupid pound sign?
Yeah, we can't see it unless you put the pound sign.
Right. It's the way. It's so we can discover it. Otherwise, it's not discoverable on social media. A lot of people my age and up like, why do we have to put this stupid? What's the whole thing about the hashtag anyway?
You can't see it unless there's a hashtag.
It's a search feature.
Yeah. So when you put the hashtag, it looks for everything with that hashtag. If I just looked up whatever
podcast 437 or TW3 podcast 437,
I'm going to find no results. So.
Yeah. You find it. So a lot of people's like, I just don't understand why that's even important. Well, guys, we've got a great show for you tonight. Had a great show last week. Had a lot of compliment and a spike in our listenership last week. I think Tuesday we tripled what we normally see in downloads the day after on the audio side.
That's pretty cool.
So, and I don't know why that was. I have no idea, but I'm encouraged and ready to see some other high-profile guests like the one we had last week joining us, hopefully the last quarter of this year. We're trying to get them booked. It's a busy time of the year. Even with COVID-19, it's sometimes hard to get people scheduled on the last quarter of the year because of holidays and stuff. But if we can get them, we definitely want to get them there for you. When we get back, we're going to be talking about how you can have a greater impact in your personal life, in your professional life, and in your business through the power of the spoken word. You know, written word is important. All words are important, but you can literally move your entire career, personal life, and the enjoyment you have just by the way you speak to yourself and speak to others. So it's going to be an exciting training, I think, for a lot of you guys, both mindset and just practical business things that you can do to help improve your income. I almost titled it Better Compensation Through Better Communication.
That's pretty good.
I almost said that, but
glad you didn't.
I'm glad I didn't, because it's not just about the money, it's about having a great impact on people. And so that's what we're going to get into when we get back right after this.
Hey, do you need cash for business expenses or bill consolidation, inventory, or maybe reinvesting in your business? You know, when money is tight, man, I tell you, business can be stressful. Trust me, I know. So I want to tell you, learn how to leverage money and time with a great product and service that I use all the time at TW3. It's a custom financing opportunity that the terms and the services are totally custom fit for you. It's easy, it's fast, it's secure, and it's at cashmutualstore.com. That's cashmutualstore.com. So what are you waiting for? Do you need inventory, or do you need to reinvest in your business? Do you need to start a business? You can grow your business by leveraging easy lending opportunity at cashmutualstore.com. Join the thousands of other entrepreneurs and small businesses we've helped at cashmutualstore.com so you can start taking your income, your business, and your life to the next level. That's cashmutualstore.com. Easy, fast, and secure.
You're listening to TerryWilson3.com. Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner. And now, back to the TW3 studios with Terry Wilson.
So we're back. Let's get right into the training with Terry on how to have a greater impact while speaking with people.
Deeper impact through speaking. Tonight I want to talk to you about how to have a deeper impact in your personal and professional life through the words and how you choose to present them. You know, a lot of times in business, it's an understood dynamic that you have to be able to present an offer, an argument, or something that you're trying to influence people by through the words that you use and the way you present them. But you know, it really impacts all parts of your life, personal and professional. And so tonight I want to talk about the 3 areas of focus that you'll want to focus on to be a better communicator. And listen, I talk to myself just as much as I talk to anyone else about this, because no matter where you're at in your personal, professional lives and in your communicational ability, there's always room for growth. Here are the 3 areas I've isolated. I think if you will focus in on and learn about, you can become a better communicator through the words and how you speak them. Number 1 is the intellectual part of speaking. You know, speaking is nothing more than conveying information, and there is an intellectual part about that we need to learn, understand, and appreciate. Number 2, the interpersonal areas of communication, that rapport building, that ability to make a friend or to convince someone that they might not want to exchange ideas with you. Either way, but there's an interpersonal component to speaking with people. And thirdly and finally, the inspirational point about speaking. Listen, you are going to inspire people with the words you use. You're going to inspire them to move in a direction that is agreeable to your cause and what you want, or you're going to inspire them to move away from your cause, your brand, what you're trying to convince them. Either way, but words have the power to inspire and motivate others to move in a direction. So those are the 3 areas I want to talk about tonight as we dive into this. Now, many of you guys will, Terry, why bother? Why bother with all this nonsense? Well, spoken words have power. They have the power to attract your audience or repel them, as I said, increase your influence or diminish it, inspire others to move either in a direction toward you or away from you, and empower or pull power away from people to be able to prosper and to thrive in whatever areas of life that they're in. Spoken words have power. So how do you start if you want to really dig into how to be a better communicator through the spoken words? Well, like I said, it's those 3 areas we talked about: the intellectual, interpersonal, and inspirational components to words being spoken and conveyed. So let's get right into it. The intellectual component to it is, number 1, you've got to know yourself. That is your temperament, your personality, how you perceive things. Are you a person that uses a logical function or a value function to judge things? Are you a person that is an extrovert or an introvert? Are you a person that intuitively sees things in a very systematic sensory cognitive function? And all that means is how you perceive the world, your personality type. You've got to understand that and understand the distinctions in it from other people so that you know what your blind spots are so that you can speak to them. For example, I'm a very extroverted, intuitive person, and I have a very hyper-logical judging function when I perceive information. So what that means is people that are more introverted are sometimes going to feel pushed back a little bit by my extroversion, me just being out there. So I have to modify myself sometimes when I'm speaking to one-on-ones, and even in audience, I've got to sometimes try to draw people out and not, just being so loud and verbose with the way I'm presenting things that I actually having people pull back because they're already feeling a little bit more bashful, shy, or feeling like I'm taking too much oxygen up in the room. So knowing that about my extroversion, knowing that because I'm an intuitive perceiver, I like things in big pictures because I can put all the different components together and draw out my own picture. Well, some people don't see the big picture. They see the finite details. And so in my presenting, sometimes I have to be able to be very detailed with a picture I'm looking. That's why when we're talking about business, for instance, I will drill down that it takes 100 people to speak with to get 25 qualified people that you would even want to do business with. And out of those 25, you can expect 2 to 3 to close in a 2 to 3 week sales cycle. Those are very specific, detailed information that really doesn't resonate necessarily with me, but I know that it does with other people. And it does resonate in the logical function I am, but when I'm listening to people, that's not what would move me. What would move me is I would have an unlimited supply of people to talk to speak whenever I wanted to be able to convey whatever message I wanted to have the biggest opportunity to have the biggest conversion in my sales. Those are all big terms. Those are all wide terms that for some people, doesn't mean anything, but to me because it's big picture, and I can imagine, I can draw my own picture that would move me. So knowing that intellectual component about speaking in the spoken word is going to help me understand how I'm different than others. So know yourself. Number 2, know your audience, which you don't know your audience unless you know yourself. And number 3, and very importantly, know your subject. One of the biggest things that is a turnoff to a lot of people, I can say for me, I can't necessarily say it for you, but I have been in the game long enough to understand one of the things that is a personality trait, if you will, that turns people off. Have you ever been around someone that just has a lot of opinion and knows and is not afraid to share what they think about a given subject, but as you listen to them and you hear more about them talk about a particular subject, it becomes more and more obvious that they don't know a lot about the subject matter. If you want to move people with your words, if you want to move people with the spoken words that you're using, you got to know yourself, and that way it can distinguish between your audience and how they may or may not be different, and you got to know your subject. You really do. I will tell you this, even people that disagree with you will have greater respect for you, and you'll have a greater impact and influence on them if they respect your knowledge of the given matter. Know yourself, your personality, your preferences, your passions. All of those distinctions is going to help you draw conclusions as to why you could or could be similar or different to your audience. When you're talking about your audience, make sure when you're talking to an audience, you know their background and know maybe potential biases that they have and beliefs that they have. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with all of them, but if you know them, and you know how they're different from yours, you will know how to approach it. And then when you know your subject, know if it's relevant and how to draw conclusions. Know how it's right and wrong. Listen, I speak about entrepreneurialism all the time, and I can tell you all the things that's right about it, but I can tell you why it could be wrong for other people. When you can present both sides of a given argument, even though you are more preferential toward one other side, it gives you credibility. Third and finally, when you know your subject, know how it affects others. You know, sometimes people have to have a line drawn between the subject matter you're talking about and how it directly impacts and influences their life. And if you don't make that distinction and you don't make that conclusion for them, well, it just comes across and smacks as philosophical, feel-good information. But how do I apply it to my life? You have to draw those lines of relevance to your potential audience when you're speaking to them. When you're talking about the interpersonal part of speaking, one of the greatest things that I am probably the weakest on, and I'm continually trying to learn and studying the subject matter, is being an active monitor. And, you know, some people use the word active listening. I like to say active monitoring because part of listening is observing body language, observing the eyes, observing the facial expressions, observing the words that they come back with, and they choose to use in response to what's being said. But being active and monitoring how the person is responding to the conversation that you're having. Use compatible mirroring. And what I mean by that, if you are a loud, verbose person like me, and you're on the phone and you're talking to someone that is a little more introverted, a little more reserved, a little more keeps the cards to their chest as far as what they believe about a given subject matter, then you, number one, need to start mirroring that person's volume level, cadence, speaking. And when I say compatible mirroring, it's still got to be you. It can't be fake or phony. You know, if I'm talking to someone in Boston it's louder than even me or quieter than me, I can raise or lower my volume based on them. But I don't need to start trying to sound like I'm from Boston. And I don't need to start trying to use vernacular that would not be compatible with my own personality type. However, to the degree that I can start getting on the same wavelength as them and start making the conversation have a greater flow, because you don't have this loud person competing with this softer person and vice versa. I do the changes. I don't expect the person I'm speaking with to change to adapt to me, but I adapt to them. That's the whole part about being and developing a stronger interpersonal speaking style, is being able to compatibly mirror the person you're speaking with, and then using deliberate messaging. In other words, that the words I use, it might not be a word that I would use, but if I've heard them use it a couple times in the conversation, it tells me that this means something to them. And if I want to communicate in a way that will mean something to them, I need to maybe change my vernacular, change my vocabulary, change phrasing, and change anything I can, and stay congruent with my own personality type and everything. But if I can make those interpersonal changes through active monitoring and being compatible with the way I mirror them, I can start using deliberate messaging that will speak to them, because it might be language and verbiage that, you know, is not, you know, in my lexicon, daily lexicon, and what I use. But if it's in theirs, then I need to meet them where they're at. Active monitoring means that I'm going to be focused on them specifically. And so when you're in the TW3 system and you're working, for instance, on the phone with somebody, then don't have the TV on and don't have everything else going on. Stay focused on the person you're speaking with on the phone. And when I'm focused on them, I'm trying to interpret what they're saying. in my mind, I'm trying to not only hear the words, but hear the meaning by it. And if that means asking a question, sir, what I hear you say, ma'am, what I hear you say, and I re-articulate it in my own language and then let them respond, that's me active monitoring, because I'm going to be responding to what they're saying. Compatible mirroring means I match their volume, I match their cadence, and I match their attitude, okay? If they're having a bad day, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get down into mully grubs with them, but I'm not going to be overtly extra to them and be offensive by, them in this somber attitude and this sort of maybe a less than enthusiastic attitude, and then but I'm going to try to match where they're at and then slowly bring them to where I want them to be emotionally in their attitude. Okay. So you've got to compatibly mirror the person. Okay. So, if someone being beat up by life, it does no good for you to go in there and it's just, holly jolly, ha ha ha, life is good for me, I've never had a problem. And then, because it's a turnoff. You got to empathize where people are at. Doesn't mean that they change your attitude. Doesn't mean that you allow them to change where your emotional state is. But it does mean that you mirror where they're at and then be able to bring them along to where they need to be emotionally, attitudinally, and all those other things. Deliberate messaging means I speak to that attitude and I give words of hope. I speak to agreed areas. Listen, there's people that I vehemently disagree with politically, theologically, philosophically, worldview-wise, but I can have a meaningful conversation by finding areas that we can agree on and speaking in those areas, and then I speak to alterations. In other words, have you ever considered this? Think about this. Have you ever wanted to alter this? If I'm trying to persuade them, if I'm trying to convince them to look at things differently, then I'm going to speak to different alterations that they can engage in. And then lastly, the third component is the inspirational component. To be inspirational, you got to give people meaningful destiny. You got to give them measured expectations, and you got to give them manageable directions. And what I mean by meaningful destiny is this: you got to give them an upward aim. Yeah, they might be in this just deadbeat job, no go anywhere, feeling trapped, hopeless. The good book says hope deferred causes the heart to grow sick, which means it makes me depressed. You got to give people hope, and the way you give them hope is you show them, an upward angle to look at, an area that they can focus on that's different than where they're at now. Give them an upward aim. Give them a unique area that's unique to them. Yeah, there's a lot of people that's doing this, that, or the other, but you, because of the background you've told me about your experiences and where you're at in the country, and you start honing in and letting them see how this is unique to them, and there's an area of life that they could go to. When you do that, and then you can give them something that's understood and accepted, meaningful destiny. Something I can understand, something I can accept. I'm telling you, you're going to inspire people to look to something that's more meaningful, that's different than where they're at now, that where they can go. And then give them measured expectations. The power of expectations is absolutely, I've got a training, you ought to Google it sometime, go to TerryWilson3.com, just type in the word expectations. There are three things: it confines, refines, and defines where you're going to be at in life. It confines your behavior, it defines your behavior, and it refines and it sharpens your behavior when you have powerful expectations. But you got to give people, when you're trying to inspire them, you got to give them measured expectations. Because when you have a measure, it conditions the senses. Okay. In other words, when I see obstacles, when I see resistance, when I see pushback, when I see things that aren't working out, if I have measured expectations, then I understand, well, that's part of the course. That's part of the journey that I'm on. I can expect this. I've understood. I've been told. I relate to the fact that, to do anything great is going to take greater effort and greater resilience and greater persistency. And this is just part of the course, and I can expect this, and I can contextualize it with my life, because my senses, what I see, what I feel, what I hear, what I taste out of life, well, it's been conditioned. I don't have these unreasonable expectations that, everything's going to be great and grand. I'm not going to have any problems. No, in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulations. That's conditioned expectations, because then measured expectations, and I can condition my senses based on my measured expectations. It motivates my activities. When I have measured expectations, it motivates what I'm doing. When I can say, hey, going to the gym and working out 30, 45 minutes a day, having a heart rate between 128 to 138 beats per minute and taking in this calories, I can expect this, and I can expect rewards out of life. Then I have my expectations measured. But if I go in thinking, hey, because I downsized, instead of going supersize, I downsized my Big Mac combo, and I got up from the couch and went to the refrigerator, and only once today, and I expect to lose 10 pounds a week. Well, that's not measured, is it? But if I have measured expectations, I can have motivation behind the activities. And thirdly, and when I can do that, it manages my emotional state. So many times people get discouraged and downtrodden and don't go after the things in life that they could have simply because their emotional state pulls them away from ever trying again. And when you have measured expectations, that is, I do have expectations. I have great expectations. I have expectations for more, to experience more, to enjoy more, to earn more. But I realize that this is the journey, so I condition my senses. This is what I've got to do, so it motivates my activities. And I can expect this. My emotions are then in harmony. And I can expect, what I get, and I can expect more out of life, and I can enjoy the journey. When you have manageable direction, when you want to inspire people, you have manageable direction as well. You're going to it defines their activities, it prioritizes their energy, and it measures the progress. Anything that's unmeasurable is unmanageable. If you want to have more out of life, you got to measure the progress you're willing to go on and have to have that more out of life. You got to prioritize where you put your energy. You just can't do everything, say yes to everything all the time. Behind every yes, there ought to be 10 no's. Every life coach, every psychologist, everybody that I can ever spend any time with to understand how to be more effectual in my life, to be more influential in my life, to have greater impact in my life. One of the things that they just beat on is you need to have 10 no's for every yes that you give. You can't do everything. So you got to prioritize your energy. You've only got so much energy, so much time, so much emotional capacity to bring on new levels of stress. So if you want to have a manageable direction to be able to achieve what you want, to motivate others to achieve what they want, that manageable direction is going to define their activities. You do this, this, and this every day, and you only do this, this, and this. You get really hyper-focused. You prioritize your energies, and I don't care if someone asks you, well, you ought to do this, you ought to do this, Terry. One of the biggest, and you've heard me say it, training after training after training, but it's just true, and I think it translates not just in business but in all walks of life. Is the number one thing that people have to fight against is being unfocused. And I love what John Lee Dumas said. What is focus? Follow one course until success. Follow one course until successful. In other words, I'm not going to get distracted from this until I get this fully operational, fully functional, fully lucrative, and then I pivot. So many times new entrepreneurs, they try to come on, they try to do everything they do, end up doing nothing. So let me give you a real world example of how this works in my life. So in the intellectual side, I'll give a large picture about an opportunity, then I'll give a detailed picture, and then I'll give, how would you like to help more? How would you like to bring value to people? How would you like to? So I give them a call to action on a value, and then I give them a logical, hey, you're going to be able to have this many people to speak with, this many people that are going to be qualified, and you can expect this many closes once you get there. Oh, that's appealing. So as I'm speaking, I'm encouraging and I'm inspiring and I'm motivating by, number one, understanding my intellectual makeup, that is my personality makeup and all that, and speaking in those lanes that are congruent with me and what motivates me, and then getting outside of myself, different for other people, motivate different. And sometimes I have different guests on the show. Why? Because they have different personality types, and they're going to appeal to different people than I will. Sometimes I'm going to have a diverse approach. Sometimes we're talking in the music world, and in the arts world, in the movies world, and in comedy world, and in religious world. Why? Because yes, this is a business show, but people relate to business, and they can approach business, and they can get connected through different diverse ways. And then finally, I reference different attitudes, and I understand there's different attitudes, and people feel differently about different things than I do, and I try to reference those and speak to those so that I can build some sort of interpersonal rapport with the people that are in my listening audience, and even when I'm talking to them individually. I use that. Inspirational, I give them my story. I give them different members' stories. I bring on guests and give their story. I give stories because I find that stories are some of the most inspirational things that you can give people, because everybody can relate to stories because they can put themselves in the story, in the narrative, and understand how it relates to their life. If you will do those things, and you will focus on the intellectual components of speaking, the interpersonal components of speaking, and the inspirational components to speaking, you will have deeper impact through speaking.
And now back to our show with Terry Wilson.
Those buttons look complicated. Now that I'm saying them, I'm appreciating how difficult they are to press.
Well, you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. That's for sure.
I can't do that. Yeah, so we're back now. We've got some questions here. I'm going to go ahead and get into some of our email questions. All
right.
So the first one, how difficult is it to just take calls and speak to people if you don't want to do some of the other income opportunities at TW3?
Well, why don't you answer that? You just started.
I would say in my experience, it's pretty easy. Your first 5 calls are going to feel awkward, especially if you've never had to.
Have you tripped over yourself yet and just?
I mean, I've stuttered and said something wrong by accident, but I kind of roll with it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
My persona is I'm an idiot, so but,
you just play the fool part, right?
Yeah. But honestly, once you talk to 4 or 5 people, you kind of figure out oh, this is how I should approach it.
Yeah.
I would say it's incredibly easy. And it's also about the mindset too. If you go in with the mindset that I gotta sell, then it's probably,
well, you're putting
too much pressure on them and yourself, and there's not a good dynamic there. I would say the best thing you can do, I don't do any of the other income type stuff. The only thing I do is I talk to people, and my approach is, my goal is there to help them.
Right.
And the way I help them is I help them find either a job or an opportunity to work from home. And then the question really becomes pretty easy. What is it that they want? What is it that's good for them? So I would say it's pretty easy.
And I want to put this in context for people that are just listening. Have you ever sold anything before in your whole life?
No.
Have you ever been in any type of sales?
No.
So your basically work background has been either
very much hourly
technical support.
Yeah.
For our business.
Yeah.
Or management.
Yeah.
And stuff at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So, that Chick-fil-A and dealing with the public's probably helped you in a lot of your communicational things.
Probably, yeah.
And in your posture that you're referring to. And it's just like we talked about in the training tonight before we started taking questions. It is so important to have that mindset that you're talking about and that inner posture, because people pick up on those nonverbal communications more so really, and people don't even understand it, but it's on a subconscious level that people are discerning. Can I trust this person? Is this person honest? Are they here to help me or hurt me?
Right.
Do I like them?
Yeah. And that's what I like about our business, because every conversation I have is a very open and honest one. I mean, because I tell them.
Because you don't have to shade anything.
Right. I tell them full disclosure, for a lack of a better term, I'm a headhunter. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm going through people and I'm going, which one's the right fit? Which one needs,
I'm looking for talent.
And the thing is if you tell them that up front and be like, what I'm looking for is sales. If you don't have sales, it's okay. I still have jobs lined up that I can get you referred to.
Right.
And then I tell them full disclosure, the reason I do this is I get paid to actually refer you to that. And a lot of times, I'm not trying to give away the secrets, but if you tell somebody part of what I do is just giving away a link and I get paid to do that, they go, well, that sounds really easy.
Holy crap. How do I get in on that?
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's and all of that is just open and honest conversation.
Just showing them the back end of your business is going to attract them to your business.
Yeah. Now, I think what some people get tripped up on is they go, I talked to 40 people and nobody bought it right off the bat. It's that's typically not going to happen. And honestly, you probably don't want that, because the amount of people that I would turn away because they're immediately here's this amount of money. I'm like, whoa. You haven't looked at anything. You haven't. Well, because if you're married, talk to your spouse.
Well, you can see that's a pending accident just because they're coming in with a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, and so that's why it's very much an interview process for them and yourself. I mean, they need to vent you need to vent them. So
even though they're not doing due diligence, you sort of have to for them.
Yeah.
you know, so that, because at the end of the day, you don't want it to roll back on you and it just be a problem you have to manage.
And that's one of the things I talk to people about. It's like, if I can talk to somebody on the phone and I feel like they can carry a conversation,
right?
You know, they're like, I talked to one lady last week. She said, you know, I've never really done sales, but I want to own my own business and I'm interested in working from home. She goes, and I understand that commission's the way to go when it comes to making more money because you're kind of working for yourself.
Right.
And from that alone, she didn't have the experience from like maybe working a job that had sales, but just in the fact that she was able to tell me that and like communicate that, I was like, you're probably a good fit for this. You know, maybe not right now, but
most people assume sales is some type of, number one, personality type. You got to be this. And both of you know that I'm probably not the most likable personality. You know, I've got an edge to me at times. So I'm not trying to woo people just on personality. Now I try to be pleasant and nice and affable and all those things, but I want to persuade people with logic, with empirical data, and with just a abundance of maybe even too much transparency and honesty, because at the end of the day, I've just been in the game long enough. I don't want to own the decision.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to wrap a bow around you and you're going to be successful. And I say, look at this person. And that's why I love bringing out people like Greenbacks and Miller Time and Miss Spelling Bee and Tom from Chi-Town and Bam Bam from Left Coast and all of these guys. The reason is because I'm wrapping a bow and they're responsible for their success. They did it. They took the information we got.
Yeah.
It wasn't I coaxed them and convinced them of anything other than here's the tools, the training technology, go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wrap a bow on the ones that, you know, had different results because I don't want to own it. All I want to own is this is what I do. These are the tools. Here's a wide spectrum of way it's done by different personalities types, skill set types, temperaments, and all this. Now you go forth and own your destiny.
No, it's true. And that's the way that's what most like sales coaches would tell you. Like I think I probably already said it here, so if I'm repeating myself, apologize. But Jordan Belford from Wolf of Wall Street, or reformed Jordan Belford after he got out of prison and sort of changed his life around.
Yeah.
There's that the age old thing where they go, oh, you're a salesman. Okay, here's this pin.
Sell me this
Sell
pin.
this.
Yeah.
Sell me this pin. Well, he did the same thing, but he goes, do you even want a pin? Are you in the market for a pin?
Do you need a pin?
And the guy was trying to be like kind of catty, and he's like, well, no. He's like, then I'm not selling you this pin. You don't want a pin.
Exactly.
And like, but from that alone, like, think about it. He's putting the posture on himself. He's like, I'm not going to do business.
I'm not going to own your decision.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's the way to do it.
No, it's just good business. Great question, too.
Let's see here. Second question. Can TW3 help me in my coaching business? And if so, how?
Oh, gosh, yeah. And I'll tell you the couple things. Number one is going to give you an audience. You know, you've heard me say it multiple times, but without a group of people that need, want, desire, and can afford what you have, and in business, we call them leads, but you can call it an audience or a tribe or a group or a following or whatever you want to call it. I mean, the terms have changed because of the dynamics of social media. What do they call it in Instagram now? They call it your follower. You got so many followers, and you got these influencers because they got so many followers. So, but it's the same principle. You've got to have people that are attracted to what you do, and you got to have people that, like Reagan's talking about here, have a genuine desire to buy into either your message or your product or your coaching or whatever. So what TW3 is going to do is just show you a proven strategy that has worked across the spectrum for so many people. Build that audience. And you're going to not have to be that annoying guy on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these other that just spam people to death.
Yeah.
And just, I tell you what, I love LinkedIn and I hate LinkedIn. It's a mixed bag. I wished, and I scratch my head. I get these requests to connect from people all the time that are coaches, that are authors, that are speakers, that are podcasts. And I get it, and I want to connect. I want to network with those people. So I do. And then the first thing is an auto response. Thank you, this, blah, blah, blah. And they just start hard pitching me.
Yeah.
I was like,
what's the turnaround on that either? Like, how many people actually follow up?
Well, the irony in this thing is they want to teach me how to grow my business on LinkedIn by what they do. And I was like, what you do is so unattractive and so irritating.
Yeah. It pushes people away.
You know, you don't even know me. You don't know what my needs are. I don't know you.
Yeah.
And
it's the same approach for these people that go through Facebook and they message like high school friends they haven't seen in 10 years. And it's like, have you wanted to lose weight quickly? It's like, yeah, it's called eating less and exercising.
And, you know, and here's the thing. I'll let a little, and it's not a secret, but I want to be in, you know, why did we develop this podcast tonight? And we're not talking about money. We're not talking about you need to buy this from us or this. I'm giving a applicable, practical mindset training and business training on how to be a more effective communicator to a ton of people that are never going to buy from me, that are not TW3 members. I didn't reserve this training tonight for just our paid member. Why am I doing that? Because I know if I put value out in the marketplace and out there, and it has no hooks to it, it has no, I'll give you
it's genuine.
It's genuine. It's sincere, trying to help people. Then I think over time I'm going to build an audience, and I know I am because I have.
Right.
And over time, people are going to be able to discern, hey, I really like that guy, or that guy's a schmuck. And I agree with the people who say I'm a schmuck, by the way, too. But, you know, it works both ways. They're getting to know me. They're getting to hear what we do. I'm getting to know them as they correspond, either through one of my trainers or us directly. And you build a relationship. I don't come right out of the gate, you know, and say, boom, boom, you know, it's a long-term plan that I have through our podcasting. And so in coaching, that's one of the things we show you how to do, is to build that rapport, to build that authenticity. And there's nothing wrong with hey, opt in here, here's the product.
Right.
But you got to have it in context.
Yeah.
There's a context.
They got to seek it out.
Yeah. And they don't understand on some of these social media platforms.
You accepted my friend request. That means you want to know about my latest business offer. It's like, excuse me.
Or they say, Terry, I want to connect with Network because we're podcasters and I'd love to hear more about what you're doing here and blah, blah, blah. And so I connect with them, and then the next thing they're trying to pitch me on, you know, gold bullion coins and how I was like, what? There's just no congruency in message.
Yeah.
There's no authenticity. And so, you know, anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. LinkedIn, I have a love-hate relationship with it.
When is the best time to start a business?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, anytime. And I'll tell you why. Because it's always a bad time.
That's true.
It's always a bad time, and it's always a good time.
There's always a million reasons why.
Listen, when's the best time to get married? When's the best time to have a child?
When's the best time to wear a striped sweater?
When's the best time? Listen.
All the time.
The fact of the matter is, you can justify why you should do it right now in your mind, and you can justify why you should not do it right now.
Now, I think it's important to preface it. I wouldn't recommend anyone that's in financial hardship right now and in a really tough spot to ever go. Typically, I would say that's you need to weigh your options, you know?
Right. Well, you have to manage it, and it's not so much finances. I used to just put it strictly on financial budgeting criteria, but I don't even say that anymore. I say it this way. You need to manage your stress. Life is stressful.
Yeah.
And I've been struggling with this answer, to be honest with you, in full transparency, for over a decade now. And here's the reason why. We had someone living under a bridge down in New Orleans.
Unbeknownst to us.
Yeah. By our system, and did wildly well with it.
Yeah.
Pulled themselves out of just literally a cesspool. And we've had people that have an affluent life, living in a nice home, but got downsized and they're wanting to transition, that then just struggled and went BS crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hard to pinpoint. I mean,
and so, well, I've pinpointed to this. It's a matter of what can you take on in new stress right now? And it goes into mindset, and it goes into, because I think you can always justify financially why you can or can't afford anything. You can always justify, time wise. Well, I just don't have time. Well, you never have time to do anything.
That's true.
Here's where I go at. Are you at a point now where you can rationally tell your mind that the status quo is more painful than the hope of tomorrow? In other words, if you're sick of where you're at and you're ready to do something and you're ready to accept the new responsibility, which stress is going to come anytime you bring on new responsibility. Are you in a mindset that you can absorb that?
Sure.
And if you're not, get there so you can. It's really not about, because honestly, we can get a person in a situation where they don't pay anything up front and they've got a whole runway to get started. But you know what? That could turn into the biggest financial burden of their life if they weren't ready to accept that new responsibility and that stress. Because here's the thing, anytime you start, whether it's our business or any other business or starting anything, anytime you're put in a situation where you have to learn something new, learning is stressful because it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's like you've written with your right hand your whole life and someone hands you a pen and say, okay, River, from here on out, you have to write with your left hand. Well, if it's brand new to you,
it's going to take some time.
It's awkward. It takes time. The product doesn't come out as easy nor as nice as it would have others. So so you have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself room to fail, and you have to be okay with it. And those are all mindset things. But I think if you can get there, you can absorb any new venture in life.
Last question. I hate speaking to people in sales. What business would you recommend?
Well, I've always said if you hate sales and you hate speaking, then you need to accept the more technical side of business, because at the end of the day, sales is in everything. Mm-hmm. Everything is selling, everything. But the way you sell could be through speaking to people or through landing page, emails, text messages, newsletters, blog content. Those are all technical skill sets that have to be developed, because at the end of the day, for someone to separate from their money, someone had to have a message that compelled them to say, hey, it's what you have in your hand is worth more than what I have in my hand, and therefore I want to exchange. That's business. Well, that's selling. But if you don't like speaking, then you've got to be able to do some of those other things that will convey that message. And some of those other things require technical stuff.
Yeah.
So you just got to be okay with it. So I hope that helped. Would you say that was the last question?
Yeah, that was the last one.
So I hope that helped people, and I hope you got something out of it. When we get back, River's giving a book away. I don't know which one he's going to give away. I don't know who he's going to give it to. But he tells me he's going to give a book away when we get back right after this. Are you hiring or recruiting for your business? Do you know the neighbors that just moved in across the street? How about that teacher or coach that just started at your church or school? You know, the good book says, know those who labor among you. And the best thing you can do to just make sure you're getting quality people around your business, around your school, around your neighborhood, around your life is to know those folks around you. And you can go to terrywilson3.com/background and get a free background check on folks that you need to know what's going on. If you're hiring, you need to use terrywilson3.com/background. If you are in the job market, you'll want to know what other people see and make sure the information is accurate. You can do that by going over to terrywilson3.com/background. That's terrywilson3.com/background.
He can't guarantee you success, but he sure can help you eliminate the excuses made so far for not achieving them. Now back to the TW3 studio with Terry Wilson.
Thank you, Bobby B. That ain't Bobby B. That's Keith over at ESPN. I'm used to saying Bobby B.
Say Bobby Brown?
Bobby Brown. My prerogative. So this is the last part of the show. We hope you guys have gotten a lot out of tonight. I hope it's something that you can take away and implement in your own business, in your own personal life, and bring you greater value. But before we get off of here, River...
We got Justin Flanagan from Boston, Massachusetts.
Justin Flanagan from Boston, Massachusetts.
Where's your applause?
Let's see here. There. I'm trying to find the button. Congratulations. We're going to be sending more Worth More book. And for those who want the book, you can go to terrywilson3.com and get the book there. Or you can go to youareworthmorebook.com. And it's this one right here. Are you looking?
Yeah, I was just seeing which one.
But I'm going to sign this and send this out to Justin. But we'll get that out to him, and anybody that wants to get that, you can also go to Amazon.com and get that. And I've got a new book, by the way, that's very apropos for today's time period. It's called Warning: Opportunities Ahead. This goes into a story how I was like Reagan's doing now. I helped a lady down in Georgia, made decent money, and didn't sell her anything. And she's doing well and supposed to be coming on as an elite member. And but that, that was that's her choice and what she's wanting to do. But I go into that story how she lost her job, lost everything, and was on the verge of losing everything, and then was able to do something with us. So it was good stuff. So anyway, what do you guys got planned for the rest of the week?
This week's is just a lot of school stuff.
Yeah.
But come a few weeks, I'll be snowboarding a lot. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
School and training for the new job.
Training for the new job. Boy, but the Wilsons just made a mass exodus over at the
pretty much.
Say a lot of things that I won't because I'm a responsible adult.
You're a responsible adult. Well,
but oh boy, could I say something?
Boy, could I say something about, yeah. Well,
yeah, I think it kind of goes back into what you were saying, though. Like,
people don't handle stress well.
Well, it's also about, like, what is your level of stress that you can handle? And for me, it was weighing the option, do I start a new job while I'm planning a wedding and all of this? Or do I continue to do something that's, like an ice pick on my soul, just chipping away a little bit? So,
well, the thing I would tell anybody out there is just like I told you, when you start feeling overwhelmed by life and when you start feeling like, situations are not working out, the best thing you can do for yourself emotionally is take a step back for just a second and remind yourself, I have options. I have choices. True. This is not this might be where I have to be today.
Sure.
But, one of the things that can get you into a funk where life is just unenjoyable and you get down and out, and even some people get into a major depression, is the loss of, the Bible says, hope deferred causes the heart to grow sick, which in today's word means when you don't see any hope of change, you get depressed. Mm-hmm. That's just what it means practically. And so you have to remind yourself there is hope. That where I'm at today doesn't mean I have to be there tomorrow or next day. Mm-hmm. And the moment you can start saying, I'm going to start making some cognitive decisions, some choices here to get me from here to here, even though your environment hasn't changed and the situation on the ground hasn't changed, mentally and emotionally, you're like, okay.
Well, there's a plan. You're working in a direction that you want to go.
Exactly. But when you lose that and you lose that ability and you lose the sight of, I can be somewhere different. I do have a choice.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. When people feel trapped.
Oh, it's
like when you feel stuck, like there's nothing you can do. That's when you.
It's a terrible place to be in. And that's why, here again, why I advocate entrepreneurialism, because what is it? Nothing but options, choices, being your own boss.
I would say that's the favorite part of my business, my business.
It's your business,
yeah. Favorite part of what I do is being able to talk to people that I just relate to so much, and they're like, "Well, I know it's not good to say in an interview, but I just hate what I'm doing." It's like, no, please tell me.
Dude,
like, I totally understand.
You start putting some music on in the background.
Like, no.
Let's lay a track down.
It's like, I'll cancel the rest of my appointments. We're talking about this, buddy.
Tell me about that SOB, some other boss that you have to work with.
Yeah. But no, honestly, and then being able to go, well, here, maybe this isn't a fit for you, but here's some info on it. If it is, maybe something they can work towards. Yeah. And if it's not, here's 15 other options directly in your field.
Isn't that powerful?
That's so, like, for me.
And you've heard about this for years, but you finally doing it.
I've heard about it, but just being able to, like, I think honestly, it's when you talk to people and you're able to put it in practice and you see the real result of it and being like, oh, no, I'm actually like.
It's left your head knowledge to you've got a real world experience and real people's having hope again.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Guys, thanks for coming out tonight. We hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. Hope you got a lot out of it. Elite members, we will have a mastermind group training this coming Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Congratulations to all you Dodger fans out there. I don't hate you that much, but as Cubby fans have learned to say for many, many years, well, there's always next year. So that's going to be our mantra down here in Atlanta. The next time we'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to TerryWilson3.com today. If you've decided you are worth more, then go to TerryWilson3.com now and get a free digital sample copy of the book. You are worth more. Listen, no one's going to give you what you're worth but you. So stop putting off and get started earning, enjoying, and experiencing what you are worth today. Go to TerryWilson3.com now to start your journey today. That's TerryWilson3.com.